Something is happening in Walmart's aisles right now, and most shoppers are walking right past it. It's not empty shelves. It's not a recall. It's quieter than that. And that's exactly why nobody's talking about it. Prices are moving in two directions at once. Some things are getting cheaper. Some things are about to get a lot more expensive. And if you don't know which is which, you're going to overpay on one end and miss your window on the other. I've been tracking receipts, government price data, and earnings calls for months, and a pattern is forming. Stick around, because number 6 on this list is the one that surprised me the most. You won't believe what's happening to it. Before we get into it, hit subscribe. This channel is about staying a step ahead of your grocery bill, not panicking about it. Let's get into the list. Item number 1. Ground beef and steak. This one hits almost every cart, so it matters more than most. Beef has been the clearest price story of 2026. Wholesale beef prices increased through spring 2026 and were nearly 13% higher in May than the year before, with government forecasters predicting further increases for the rest of the year. The reason isn't tariffs or shrinkflation. It's the cattle herd itself, which has been shrinking for years and is now historically small. Regular ground beef averaged around $6.74 a pound as of March 2026. That's not a temporary spike from a bad month. Rebuilding a cattle herd takes years, not weeks, because calves don't become market-ready cattle overnight. Shoppers who watch their receipts have noticed the same steak cut costing noticeably more than it did a year ago, even as other parts of the cart got cheaper. That's not your imagination, it's the data. If beef is a staple in your house, this is the moment to buy in bulk when it's on sale and freeze it, rather than buying week to week at whatever the current shelf price happens to be. Vacuum sealed and frozen properly, beef holds well for months. This is one where waiting doesn't help you. Prices are trending in one direction, and it's not down. Item number 2. Coffee. If you drink coffee every morning, this next one affects you more than almost anything else on this list. Arabica coffee prices climbed to some of their highest levels in decades in early 2026, driven by low global inventories and a multi-year run of difficult harvests in Brazil, the world's largest Arabica producer. On top of that, tariffs cut US coffee imports from Brazil by nearly half in a single month, disrupting supply chains that had been stable for years. Here's the part that's easy to miss. Even where the sticker price hasn't jumped, the bag has quietly gotten smaller. A government analysis found that per-unit price increases from shrinkflation hit as high as 32% for coffee between 2019 and 2024, the largest jump of any category studied. More recent reporting shows the same pattern continuing, with major canned coffee products and even premium bags losing ounces while keeping the same advertised yield. So you're not just paying more per bag, you're often getting fewer cups out of that same bag. Check the net weight next time you're in the aisle, not just the price tag, because the two numbers have stopped moving together. If coffee is non-negotiable in your house, buying a larger bag when it's discounted and storing it airtight in the freezer stretches your supply and locks in today's per-ounce price before the next relabel. Coffee is one of those habits nobody wants to give up, which is exactly why brands can shrink it quietly and count on you not noticing. Item number 3. Chocolate and candy. Number 3 has been building for over a year, and it's finally reaching the shelf in a big way. Cocoa hit record prices, and chocolate makers responded partly by making bars thinner, blocks shorter, and multi-packs lighter, all while keeping the shelf price looking familiar. One widely reported example found a chocolate tub that shrank from 600 grams to 550 grams while the price went up, working out to a 27% jump per 100 grams for the same brand. Sugar itself is also under pressure, tied to weather disruptions in growing regions and more sugarcane being diverted to ethanol production instead of food. And tariffs are adding to ingredient costs for candy makers on top of that. If you buy chocolate or candy for holidays, lunchboxes, or baking, this is a category where stocking up during a sale actually pays off because the trend line here is smaller portions for the same or higher price, not the other way around. Buy multi-packs when they're discounted, And store them in a cool, dry spot rather than the pantry shelf near the oven, since heat cycles are part of what degrades chocolate quality over time anyway. This is a small indulgence for a lot of families, and it's exactly the kind of purchase where shrinkflation hides best, because nobody weighs their candy bar. Item number 4. Toys and imported general merchandise. This one isn't food, but it belongs on this list because of how sharply it moved, and because back to school and holiday shopping both fall in the next few months. Reporting on Walmart pricing found some item categories with markups exceeding 100%, with toys standing out because most are manufactured in China and hit directly by tariff rates. One tracked example, a dinosaur toy, went from about $40 to $55 in less than a month. Another, a baby doll, rose from roughly $35 to $50 over a similar stretch. A broader CNBC price tracking analysis across roughly 50 Walmart products found increases as high as 51% on some items between May and July of the prior year. The pattern here is specific. Import-heavy categories moved first and moved hardest, while store-brand grocery items were sometimes flat or even cheaper over the same period. If you're planning ahead for birthdays, holidays, or back-to-school gear, buying now rather than waiting until November is the safer bet, because these categories have already shown they can reprice with very little warning. This is about protecting your budget before the next wave hits, not reacting after it already has. Item number 5. Olive oil. Olive oil has had one of the wildest price rides of any pantry item, and it's worth understanding why before you buy your next bottle. After a run of record highs tied to poor harvests, industry reporting pointed to olive oil prices dropping as growing conditions in key regions improved. But that relief has been uneven, and imported packaging and ingredient costs tied to tariffs have kept some of the savings from fully reaching US shelves. The lesson with olive oil isn't stock up no matter what. It's the opposite. This is a commodity that swings hard based on a single harvest season in the Mediterranean, so prices you see this month may not hold through the next one. If you see a genuinely low price on a full bottle, that's the moment to buy, since the next harvest report could send it back up just as fast as it came down. Watch this one closely, rather than assuming today's shelf price is stable, because with olive oil, it usually isn't. Item number 6. Eggs. Here's the one I mentioned at the start, and it's the opposite of everything else on this list, which is exactly why it's easy to miss. Egg prices fell roughly 59% from their peak, landing around $2.58 a dozen in January 2026, down from a record high above $6. The USDA is projecting egg prices to keep falling through the year, as flocks recover from the avian flu outbreak that drove the earlier shortage. The market has actually swung so far that producers are now dealing with oversupply, even as their own feed, fuel, and labor costs keep rising. At the same time, Americans are projected to eat more eggs per person in 2026 than they did the year before, partly because eggs are now one of the cheapest proteins on the shelf compared to beef. This is the shocking one, because it runs against every other price story on this list. While beef and coffee climb, eggs are on sale, and the smart move is the reverse of stocking up. Buy what you'll actually use in the next few weeks rather than hoarding, since prices are still sliding and today's price might not even be the lowest one. Eggs are proof that not every grocery trend is bad news. You just have to know which direction each one is moving. Item number 7. Paper products and household staples. Toilet paper, paper towels, and tissues rarely get attention in these conversations, but the numbers on this one are worth knowing. The same government analysis on shrinkflation found paper towels among the categories with real per-unit price increases, even when the roll looked the same size on the shelf. Separate reporting found paper products had the most widespread size reductions by proportion of any category studied, with a majority of the paper items reviewed shrinking in size. The trick with paper goods is that the roll count on the package often stays the same, 12 rolls, say, while each individual roll gets a little shorter or a little less dense. You keep buying the same 12-pack, and getting less paper overall. Because these products don't spoil, this is one of the safest categories to genuinely stock up on when you see a sale, especially store-brand versions, since they're one of the few things on this list you can buy in bulk without worrying about a use-by date working against you. Check the sheet count and roll dimensions printed in small text on the package, not just the pack size on the front, because that's where the real story is. Item number 8, store brand and private label groceries. This last item isn't a single product. It's a strategy, and it's the one Walmart itself has been leaning into. Walmart's own CFO has noted that private label item sales stayed roughly flat year over year, even as tariff pressure pushed up costs elsewhere, while the CEO pointed out that middle and lower income households have been more sensitive to price increases and are switching items and categories to manage it. Interestingly, the same tracking that found steep increases on imported goods also found Great Value brand eggs actually dropped in price over the same window, even as national brands moved the other way. The pattern is consistent across multiple retailers right now. Store brands are absorbing tariff pressure better than national brands, largely because they're often sourced and packaged differently. If you've been loyal to a specific national brand out of habit, this is the moment to try the store brand versions side by side and see if you notice a real difference. Because the price gap between the two has been widening, not narrowing. This one isn't about a single purchase. It's a shift in where the better value is actually sitting on the shelf. So here's the pattern underneath all 8 of these. Grocery prices right now aren't moving together. Some categories like beef, coffee, and imported goods are climbing because of tariffs and real supply shortages that took years to build and will take years to unwind. Others, like eggs, are falling because the specific crisis behind them, the avian flu outbreak, is finally resolving. The shoppers who come out ahead this year aren't the ones panic buying everything. They're the ones who know which category they're looking at before they decide whether to stock up or hold off. That's really what this channel is about. Not fear, just staying a step ahead of the next price tag before it changes on you. If this helped you make sense of your last grocery receipt, subscribe, because I'm tracking these trends every month as new data comes in. Drop a comment with the price change that's hit your own cart the hardest lately. I read all of them, and it usually shapes what I cover next. Talk soon.